Most people overlook janitors, rarely giving them a second thought as they go about their daily routines. They're the silent workers, blending into the background, making sure everything is spotless while the world rushes by. To many, janitors are just background characters in life's movie, unseen, unheard, and often unappreciated, even though they witness everything that happens after hours. But what if, for once, one of these invisible figures took center stage? Imagine a janitor pulling off a daring heist, then vanishing without a trace, leaving everyone stunned. That's exactly what happened with Carlos Diaz, a man whose story would become legend. Carlos was a quiet janitor in a Miami office building. He was reliable, invisible, and underestimated by everyone around him. No one suspected he was capable of anything extraordinary. Yet, beneath that humble exterior, Carlos was planning something audacious. One night, he simply walked out of the building with $4 million in cartel cash, money that was never meant to be touched. This wasn't some high-tech operation. There were no gadgets, no hacking, and no elaborate safe cracking involved. It was just a man with a plan, nerves of steel, and the ability to move through the shadows unnoticed. The money belonged to the Sinaloa Cartel, a group infamous for their ruthlessness and power. Stealing from them was unthinkable, until Carlos did it. After the heist, both the cartel and the police launched massive investigations. But Carlos didn't just steal, he vanished so completely that for years, no one has found a single clue. He left behind an empty office, a trail gone cold, and a legend that only grew with time. The mystery remains unsolved, haunting everyone who hears it. This is the story of the janitor who became a ghost. A man who slipped through the cracks and into legend, leaving only questions behind.
Why would a cartel leave millions in a random office? For them, cash is both a blessing and a curse. Their drug business generates mountains of bills. Too much to launder quickly. They can't just deposit it in a bank, so they stash it in boring places, like a Miami import-export office. The office was a front, a temporary vault hiding in plain sight. The cartel believed fear was the best security. Who would dare steal from them? Their reputation was their lock, and for years it worked. No one suspected the office next to a dentist was a cartel bank. They thought no ordinary person would ever try to take it. But then they hired Carlos Diaz. He was invisible to them until he wasn't. And that's when everything changed.
Carlos wasn't a criminal mastermind. He was just a regular man, someone who kept his head down and worked hard every single night. He was a hard-working immigrant, cleaning up after others, invisible to most, blending into the background of the city's late-night rhythm. His life was routine, a series of silent nights and empty rooms, until he noticed something odd at Ocean Imports. Barely any staff, empty trash cans, and a strange, persistent quiet that seemed to hang in the air. There was also a locked closet he was told never to enter. The warning echoed in his mind, and curiosity began to grow, gnawing at him with every shift. One night, as the building slept, he found the closet door ajar. The forbidden space called to him, and he couldn't resist peeking inside. Inside, he discovered boxes, plain, unmarked, but packed with stacks of $100 bills, more cash than he'd ever seen in his life. The sight was overwhelming. It was more money than he could ever imagine, a fortune hidden in the shadows of his nightly routine. In that moment, Carlos's world shifted. The rules he'd lived by suddenly seemed less certain, and the possibilities before him multiplied. He realized he was staring at a fortune, hidden in plain sight, and that he was the only one who knew its secret. The idea was dangerous, but it took root. Could he take it? Could he escape with it? The questions raced through his mind, each one more tempting than the last. The invisible janitor was about to become the architect of his own legend, stepping out of the shadows and into a story he never expected. That night, a plan began to form in his mind, one that would require courage, cunning, and a willingness to risk everything he had. He didn't know it yet, but his life would never be the same. The weight of his discovery pressed on him, filling him with both fear and hope, and neither would the cartels. In the silence of that night, destinies were about to collide. The secret changed Carlos. He went from janitor to schemer, haunted by the possibilities. He knew the risks. This was cartel money, stained with danger. But what had honesty ever gotten him? A tired body and empty pockets. The money became his ticket to freedom. He started planning. No accomplices, no gadgets. Just his access and invisibility. He knew the building, the guards' routines, the fake cameras. Years of being overlooked became his advantage. He bought a used van, mapped escape routes, and slowly withdrew his savings. He paid rent ahead, told his landlord he'd be away. Every detail was covered. He wasn't just stealing money, he was erasing his old life. Carlos Diaz, janitor, was about to disappear. And no one saw it coming. He chose a Friday before a long weekend. Maximum time to vanish. Carlos arrived for work as usual, hiding empty duffel bags in his cleaning cart. He moved through the building, calm on the outside, heart racing inside. At 1 a.m., he reached the 7th floor, unlocked the office, and picked the closet lock. Inside, the cash, waiting. He loaded the money into duffel bags, then hid them in his rolling trash bin. Covered with real trash, he wheeled it to the service elevator, down to the loading dock. His van was waiting. He loaded up, got in, and drove away, leaving behind his job, his identity, and a stunned city. By the time anyone noticed, Carlos was long gone. The perfect exit, executed in silence. The janitor had become a ghost. And the legend was born. The long weekend gave Carlos a crucial head start. When the cartel operatives returned, they found the closet empty, and panic set in. They couldn't call the police. Reporting the theft would expose their own crimes. Their bosses in Mexico would be furious, and their lives were now on the line. They launched their own desperate search, suspecting an inside job. Meanwhile, the police were clueless. Carlos was just a missing janitor. Only after reviewing security footage did they notice him leaving with a trash bin and driving off in an unknown van. But with no reported theft, they had no idea what really happened. The police were looking for a missing person, not a master thief. The cartel wanted revenge, the police wanted answers. And Carlos was nowhere to be found. 2 investigations began, one by the police, one by the cartel. The police followed the rules, searching for a missing man with no criminal record. The cartel used fear, violence, and their vast network to hunt him down. For the cartel, this was about reputation as much as money. They couldn't let a janitor make them look weak. Both sides dug into Carlos's life, but he'd covered his tracks well. Every move he made to hide from the cartel also kept him hidden from the police. It became a deadly game of cat and mouse. Carlos had to outsmart both the law and the lawless, his greatest challenge yet. So, what happened to Carlos Diaz? He vanished. No van, no money trail, no contact with anyone. The police case went cold, but theories flourished. Some say he got away, laundered the money, and now lives in luxury under a new identity. Others believe the cartel found him. Revenge for the ultimate insult. Or maybe, the pressure was too much, and Carlos lives in hiding, too afraid to spend his fortune. Did he win, or did he trade one prison for another? The truth remains a mystery. All that's left is speculation, and a legend that grows with every retelling. The janitor who outsmarted everyone, and disappeared without a trace. Carlos Diaz's story is more than a crime. It's a modern folktale, whispered in the shadows of the city. It's the kind of tale that grows with every retelling, blurring the line between fact and legend. He's the underdog who took on giants, the invisible man who became unforgettable. In a world that rarely notices the people who clean up after others, Carlos made sure his mark would never be erased. He didn't rob a bank or a family. He robbed the robbers. He turned the tables on those who thought themselves untouchable, using their own arrogance against them. His genius was in his simplicity and invisibility. He moved through the world like a ghost, unnoticed and underestimated, quietly gathering secrets and opportunities. The world ignored him, and he used that to his advantage. Every sideways glance, every dismissive gesture, became another tool in his arsenal. The cartel saw a janitor, not a threat. They never imagined the quiet man with the mop was the one who would outsmart them all. His story reminds us, never underestimate the quietest person in the room. Sometimes the ones who say the least are the ones who see the most. Because sometimes they have the boldest plans. Carlos's mind was always working, always searching for the perfect moment to act. If he'd been caught, he'd be a cautionary tale. A warning about flying too close to the sun. But fate had other plans. But because he vanished, he became a legend. His disappearance only added to the mystery, leaving behind more questions than answers. He's the D.B. Cooper of janitors. A man who pulled off the impossible and left us all wondering what really happened that night. Whether he's living in paradise or hiding in fear, Carlos Diaz changed his fate with one daring act. He reminds us that sometimes, the most ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things. And that's a story worth telling, a legend for a new generation, and a reminder that heroes can come from the most unexpected places.